Okay, so this topic is one, um, and probably won't be the last one of this sort of style where um, I feel like I've had a bit of a journey through in the sense that I've stood at different s- stages or at different positions of the argument. Um, and this is the idea of focus. And some time ago, I was working for a company that had the very noble goal of becoming the most human company. And I guess everyone defines that differently, but if we take a look at it from that perspective, maybe the idea of sort of like a level up to the concept of work-life balance, which is not an idea that I like, which I might get into later, but sort of like the next level of that. Like how do you create a work environment in which you it is truly like more human or human in general. And so when I was working at this company, like one of the things that I did for them was that I was sort of like a spokesperson for this idea. And in this sort of role, I did a few presentations, and one of the and they had this kind of like information deck or this content to help guide you through the presentations. And one of the main topics was the topic of focus. And looking at it from the perspective of someone who's working at a type of office environment, I think it really shifted my views on focus. Because when you think about it from the perspective of an office, um, there are some immediate problems that you might think you fix through getting more focus. So, if for example, it is 4:30 and your boss comes over to your desk and says, "Hey, I want the report of everything we've done for the last month or so because the client just set up a last minute meeting to catch them up on everything that we've been doing." And so it's 4:30. You're planning on actually getting the hell out of there because you had some plans with your family or your friends, and now suddenly, right before you walked off the office, you got this task that at the moment seems extremely insurmountable. And so you might be hit with this moment in which you feel like even though this is something that you know how to do, your mind can almost like not comprehend how to do it. It's like you cannot make the first step. You cannot get the ball kind of going. And generally, when we think about something like this, we would think, oh, we lack focus. We're procrastinating. We're doing all these things. But where my mind went when I was working on this was um, that maybe we're missing something, that maybe we're putting too much emphasis on focusing, and we are missing out on the lessons that the lack of focus is trying to tell us. That I think to some degree, our bodies are incredibly smart um, machines or tools or beings or however you want to put it. And our bodies are constantly trying to give us information or help guide us. But since our body, for example, doesn't speak English, it doesn't convey the information as directly as maybe we would want it. So maybe what's going on when we're having trouble focusing is that our bodies are trying to tell us something. They're trying to let us know that there is something that is of higher importance to us right now. And in our push to almost force the focusness, we are missing out on learning more about ourselves, or learning how to make things, or how to do things in a different way, or in a new way. So going back to the example of that report, um, one direction in which that can go is you could feel like, oh, this report is just absolutely pointless. So why am I gonna do it? They're not gonna end up reading it, and all these things. And yeah, maybe the report is in many ways useless or stupid, or like a waste of time. But you can go in further and maybe think about it from the perspective of, okay, maybe the report is not the thing that is stupid, but the way in which we are doing it. Maybe if you're writing it down on our PowerPoint presentation and putting all these things on it and making it look pretty and all these things, maybe those things are definitely a waste of your time. Maybe what your boss actually needs is for you to sit down with them for 5 minutes, give them a quick rundown of what's up. Maybe it's going to turn out that they actually were very aware of everything that was going on and they thought you knew a lot more. But because you've been keeping them up to date across the months, they're pretty aware of what's going on. Or maybe you can jump into the call when they start the meeting, and even though you're on your way home or you're like home, you can stop and jump into the call for like 5-10 minutes, explain, and then drop from the call. And then your boss can continue on with the meeting. The client is satisfied, and all these things that maybe in these moments of lack of focus, it's almost our creativity trying to burst out in a different way, to let us know something that we can do that would be more truthful to what it is that we want to do, or how it is that we want to spend our time. And the other thing is that I guess I don't want to say that focus or unfocus, that one of them is more important than the other. I think it's really like a spectrum. I think in many ways we know what it is that we want to do when we want to do it, and so maybe the trouble starts when we start forcing which of those two states we want to be in, as opposed to kind of just flowing through. And when we're having trouble focusing in, maybe taking a break, maybe going out for a walk, maybe going and playing some games, and then going back with kind of like a fresh perspective, then maybe it is our body that knows, like, hey, let's take a break. It's been a long day. Let's kind of like relax, and then we'll go back at it tomorrow or later. And at one of the, I think one of the easier examples of this is that feeling that when we get angry, as opposed to responding to things immediately, if you take just a few minutes before responding, oftentimes that's enough to kind of like just like ramp down and ease up. And suddenly the way in which you can respond to the situation becomes so profoundly different that it is as if someone else is doing the talking. It is as if someone else is responding. And maybe this is sort of like another result of that as opposed to us going in and responding with that focus on maybe not anger, but just like that emotional kind of like state, that emotionally intense state, as opposed to kind of like allowing that unfocus to ease in and spread our emotions out, and then we can respond. That gives us a better kind of like perspective that helps us put in more of our creativity and more of our intuition and more of our knowing into what it is that we want to say and the way in which we want to respond to the world and through challenges. And in this sense, it almost helps us um, connect more to understanding that communication that is always going on with uh, sort of like our bodies, and this information that our bodies are trying to often tell us during the day or during challenging situations and all that kind of stuff.